Thank you for joining us and welcome to Moorhead Talks. This is our second program and we're joining here with Brenda Elmer, Moorhead City Council member. Thank you for coming in, Brenda.
Thank you for having me, Tony.
Well, we're trying to get the word out for the city of Moorhead and a chance for Moorhead to have its say. And so we want to get to know all of our council members and other people in the area. So what's your background in Moorhead? You've been a council member for several years now. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you. I was elected in 2009, which makes me the most senior member of the council now, kind of scary. So I'm going into my 8th year on the council, and I'm from the 3rd Ward in the very southwest part of the city. And one of the motivating factors at that time, of course, why I ran for city council was I felt we could be more prepared on flood mitigation efforts. And so that was kind of the impetus for running. And we've been through a lot there. I serve on several committees. We change it up every couple of years.
Yeah.
A few of those are, I'm on the Metropolitan Council of Governments.
Okay.
And I've been on that for a few years now, and I'm actually the chair this year.
Right.
So I really enjoy that because I get to work with our colleagues from across the metro area,
Sure.
Other cities, both counties in the area. And we work on planning issues, transportation, things that are metro-wide. So that is one of my key appointments. I'm also serves on the Board of Appeals and Equalization, and
Right.
people want to dispute their property tax valuations. So a handful of committees that I enjoy serving on, and you really get to know the issues that way.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that's coming up again now is flood mitigation. So, we're at that stage where right now the river is just going over the banks. It won't be huge, but, this is February. We're going to get hit again in March, April, probably. So where do you think we stand right now in Moorhead for flood mitigation?
Right, as I mentioned, that was a driving force for me getting involved. Moorhead is in a pretty good situation, I think, as most of our residents know. Sometimes we get a little too complacent because we've made such huge progress in the last few years. And as you know, we're a few feet higher on this side of the river, so that adds to the complacency, I think, a little bit. But as far as homes that we bought out, almost 250 homes. We're quite pleased that we did not have to use the eminent domain process. The council chose not to do that. They were all voluntary acquisitions. And I think it was over 12 miles of flood levee throughout the city, including 3 gate structures, removable gate.
Right.
And so we've come a long ways. We still have some of the homes that have chosen to remain. We have in place emergency plans for those.
That's what I was asking. Was what is the plan for those homes if something happens?
Right. Our city engineer has built into, we have very few emergency measures that we have to take. So in those cases, it would be very quick to deploy, whether it be clay levees or so forth. Yeah, they would be on the wrong side of the dike, of course. But we were into the millions of sandbags.
Oh, I remember, yeah.
The first couple of years I was on the council, that's how I used my vacation time at work. I would just go on down the riverfront and sandbag, and I got to know a lot of the residents, and was really pleased that when they did get buyouts, many of them remained in Moorhead. So it's a little bit like musical chairs. I hear from them later. They're not always in my ward, but I have to kind of keep track of where they moved on to. But that being said, it wasn't, like I said, we get a little complacent. It was, some of our council meetings were a little bit controversial as far as how fast we want to, go through all the projects and how we're going to leverage the local funding that we had to match.
Right.
The state of Minnesota was a phenomenal partner, and we leveraged a lot of state funding for that, and we couldn't have done it without them.
Right.
But that being said, since then, we've worked to remove neighborhoods from the floodplain.
Right.
We've requested letters of map revision with FEMA, and we have a few neighborhoods that they've approved, including the Horn Park area and the Woodlawn Park area in my ward.
Okay.
So that means they no longer are required to purchase flood insurance.
I know that's one of the main selling points for real estate in our area, especially. I mean, AmCam did that video for the realtors and stressing that point exactly. And not to knock everyone on the other side of the river, but Moorhead sits in a very good position right now because of that.
Absolutely. And that took a long time because people remember 2009, the clay levees down 8th Street. Led by our staff and the council members. Over time, we would have kind of focus groups with the various stakeholders immediately after those flood years. And we would meet with them and try to dispel some of the myths and show them the progress that we were making. And kind of, because, you know, the realtors are on the front lines when somebody is moving to the Fargo-Moorhead area. And so we really wanted to educate them. We wanted to show them as we were going what we had done, and we're in a pretty good situation right now. We still have neighborhoods that we're working on removing from the floodplain, but you know, it's probably like less than 800 or so homes that would be in the new floodplain when FEMA comes back to remap. That's the thing about the floodplain; it's always changing.
It's shifting, right?
And not everybody realizes that. You're out of it now, but you know, in a couple of years, you could be back in.
Could be, sure.
And so, that's one of the things that FEMA administrators have said, that you know, if we come back in a few years and you haven't made significant progress on a permanent project, we're likely to you know, put these 800 homes back in.
Right.
And
so is that part of the diversion issue then too, that would help alleviate that as well? That's one reason why, I mean, Moorhead theoretically could say, we're covered, don't worry about it. But really we're partners with the people across the river that we need to have a diversion in order for that to occur. They have many more homes at risk, obviously, but we still could have 800 plus, depending on what happens with the remapping.
Right. In Fargo, yeah, it's into the several thousands that are lots that will be in the floodplain.
Sure.
But that's exactly it. You know, it would be a lot easier to fight a flood than it was in 2009 with all of the progress we've made, and we went to work day one. We didn't wait for a federal project to come together. That being said, we are one of the sponsors still on the project, and that's just it. It's not so much government savings, but it's our citizens that would have to spend thousands of dollars every year on flood insurance. And just marketing Moorhead as a place to live and work and play, you know, we used to be a little timid about saying we're higher and drier.
Right.
We didn't want to be boastful. But
it is a selling point.
We've made a lot of progress, and we are using it as a selling point. You'll see that on our website, makemoorheadhome.com, where we talk about that, and of course the video that you mentioned. So yeah, it is a selling point, and all of our new developments are for the most part out of the floodplain.
Right, they're all basically to the east and some to the south. And things.
Yes.
And I mean, you can see the growth. It's just huge. It's exploding all over the region. But you know, the nice thing is that you don't have to worry about those issues. I know there's a lot of question marks on the other side, so Moorhead's in a good spot in that respect. Now, you said you were also in the MetroCog and part of the transit system. And we just worked with Metrolink, and we also have the Link system here. How is that going right now with the partnership and for getting a little more mass transit in our area?
Yeah, absolutely. That's fairly new, as you noted. You know, we have spurts where it's used, especially around events and festivals. With more businesses coming in the downtown area, you know, they're able to use that as well. So we're hopeful that it'll catch on. I know they've tried to make it kind of fun and loud colors and music and that sort of thing, but you're seeing a lot of people go back and forth, especially with restaurants. A couple of the great restaurants we have in the Moorhead Center Mall and the ones in downtown Fargo. So that's a good partnership, and it helps Fargo too during their construction with their parking issues.
Yeah, that's like the number one complaint in downtown Fargo's. Nowhere to park. We have some space in the mall lot, so that works out great. But
and they're the primary funder of it too, so that doesn't hurt from a Moorhead perspective.
Exactly. So it works around everybody. So talking about downtown and Moorhead in general, what do you what are some of the new things coming up that you can talk about? I know there's things that you can't talk about because of contracts need to be signed and all that sort of thing, but recently we just had announced Runners is coming to, or Runnings is coming to the old Kmart on Highway 10, which will be great. For people that don't know, that's kind of almost like a Fleet Farm type of large store, and that's a new acquisition for our area. I think that's great. So what are some other ones that you can talk about?
Yeah, and that's a Minnesota company as well.
Yeah.
We just approved the RFP for the project on
That's
Main
a request
Avenue.
for a proposal for somebody who doesn't know.
Yes. Break it down a little bit.
Right.
And that is for the 8th Street and Main Avenue project there, where the gas station
The old
and the
Amico,
flooring company used to be. And that was removed, as you may know, because we had to add that turn lane because of the project.
It was a fun summer last year.
Project we did with the state of Minnesota.
Sure.
And we're really using it as an opportunity. We've had a lot of interest from developers. We've heard a lot of different ideas, but we just approved that last week for staff to issue that. And so we'll start to see what comes in. I know some of them were interested in kind of compiling other properties, and I'm excited to see what comes forward.
Yeah.
But, you know, ideally, we really like to see connectivity in downtown. With the redevelopment that occurred before I got on the council, where we see Rustica and some of the housing there.
Sure.
You know, people like to live, go have a cup of coffee or dessert or go out to eat. I'm hopeful one day we'll get an independent bookstore close to downtown.
That would be great.
Or in the vicinity of the college.
Especially college town. I mean, you'd think we'd have some of those things, so it'd be nice to get some of that back.
Not everybody buys everything online.
Right, exactly.
And I have a friend who has one in Grand Forks, and it's a college town as well.
Right.
So
it wouldn't happen to be Kemp by any chance, would it?
Ferguson.
Ferguson, I know Ferguson. Excellent.
Yes.
That'd be nice if they could expand down here.
Yes, I keep telling him. He's a Carver graduate, so that's
There
the
you
connection
go.
to
There you go.
Moorhead.
Well, you know, it's something, you know, there's been long talk about it, like a dinky town like Minneapolis has got near the college area. And there's a little bit of that down near where the family fair is and that sort of thing. But people have also talked about trying to get more close to the downtown area. I don't know is there any talk or rumblings about that? There's certainly developmental sites available.
When I first got on the council, I know there were proposals, but they didn't quite seem to take off. You know, I get told or asked all the time from residents, you know, what we really need is this, this, and this.
Sure.
And, you know, I tell them, I agree. It's not government's role to build those projects or to finance them, but we can provide tools and incentives to do so.
Right.
And so we do. Throughout our downtown corridor, we have tax increment financing districts. We have other tax incentives. They're all on our website. There's a good combination of them. We even have a storefront kind of restoration
Similar to
loan.
what Fargo had done originally. Yeah.
Yes. So lots of things to incent businesses, developers to come downtown. You know, I mentioned before we started the show that I was down at the state capitol here 2 weeks ago. And one of the things is, you know, talking about our border cities legislation to try to reduce some of those disparities. A lot of times people don't differentiate between city policies, state policies, but you know, a lot of that is state policy that we try to work around and try to overcome, if you will, and come up with our own incentives. And so through some border cities legislation that we've had in place many years, it reduces that disparity a little bit, primarily with property tax rates and then also with workers' comp.
Right.
But it still doesn't get us on an equal footing.
Same,
it's still a disparity by quite a bit. One of the ideas that I'm pushing, and I talk to lawmakers about, is similar to what downtown Fargo has, and it's a huge incentive with their Renaissance zone.
Right.
And you know, if you've looked at that, that brings the income tax element into it. And you know, unless you have similar tools like that and similar incentives,
it's hard to compete with that. Yeah.
You can pass all the city ordinances, you know, and of course we're limited on what financing we can offer, but We just need to get the state of Minnesota's attention. We're not the largest city in the state like Fargo is, but we do our best. And
there's other border cities, though, that, Breckenridge and all in East Grand Forks that could definitely benefit from that, and on the eastern side of the state. So I would think they might be listening to that. I mean, Duluth itself is a border city, when you have Superior right across the Sound. So maybe there'll be some push and some pull on that they could deal with.
Absolutely, and it's going to have to be a bipartisan issue.
Right.
And we've asked our lobbying firm and our staff to do some research so that we can demonstrate to state officials that the state would be better off as well.
Right.
Because that development and that growth is going to occur in the Fargo-Moorhead area.
Right.
And we're losing out by not having those incentives.
Tax dollars are coming this way instead if we get that coming. So.
Absolutely.
Well, what are some of your pet projects, as it were? We've talked about a few of them, but what are some of the other ones that you're interested in seeing happen in Moorhead?
Sure. The grade separation project, the underpass, some people call it, over by our only high school is a huge issue.
For everybody wants that one happening.
Yes, it's very expensive to complete the project. We need another $43 million to finish that. We've already put resources into the kind of the planning and a lot of the pre-project phases, but it's a very complex project. It's not just a simple underpass. And so to separate the pedestrian, the train, and the car traffic, and it's a big issue. Our fire chief did a study not too long ago where he tracked, how much time was lost at the tracks. And, our only emergency room is across the river. And when you have the river and only a handful of places to cross there, and depending on flood season, and then you have the train tracks as well. And at one point we were getting 80, 90 trains a day. That's been reduced with the slowdown out west a little bit, but we're bearing the brunt of that for goods and to get through to other areas. And so that's kind of why we feel that that we're asking for the state's help. We did apply several times for federal grants. Now that we no longer have earmarks and our members of Congress to advocate for us in that way, it's very competitive, and we tend to not rise above some of those larger areas and cities. So
do you have any feel for where the state is at? I know it got close in the last bonding bill, but they're working on one right now. Any idea on where we're at?
Yes, we were in the governor's recommendations. We were very close last year, and then things fell apart at the end of session for various reasons. We are also at the top of the Minnesota Department of Transportation's recommendations, where they rank all of the requests and projects. Our underpass was right up there. The Senate recently passed, I think just last week, passed out a bonding bill out of the bonding committee, and we're included in that. It's very similar to the bill that was last session. And so
fingers crossed at this point.
We just need to urge the House to have a bonding bill in the first place. Normally, 2017 would just be a budget year and not a bonding year.
Gotcha.
But since they didn't get the job done last year, we're urging them to take that up.
Is there anything anyone can do here other than obviously our representatives are pushing that?
Absolutely, and I keep social media, and I've urged people, here's the contact information. But they really need to hear it. Our local legislators are supportive and doing what they can. But committee chairs, legislative leadership, it doesn't hurt. And it's it's not only a quality of life issue. It's a huge safety issue.
It's a safety issue. Yeah. At this point, it's a must-have really for Moorhead.
Absolutely.
Tell you what, we're going to take a short break. We'll be back in just a minute with a little more from Brenda Elmer.
The Red River rises and floods often in the spring and sometimes even summer, but Moorhead has addressed community flood risk and now has great flood protection.
Moorhead's made the investments over the last 4 years so that never happens again. The flood can be managed and not be an issue for the residents that live here.
Moorhead invested in flood protection, so now Moorhead is out of the sandbagging business. Only a few areas, and soon to be less than 30 properties in Moorhead, require flood insurance. Levees and flood structures that protect Moorhead neighborhoods are soon to be FEMA certified, exempting those properties from required flood insurance. Keep that flood insurance money in your pocket. New homes built in Moorhead subdivisions do not require flood insurance for federally insured mortgages.
So if a person did not have to have flood insurance on their home, instead of buying a $200,000 home, they can buy nearly a $250,000 home and not have their payment increase.
Well, Moorhead's got a lot of very nice developments. It is really a neat community to live in.
And thank you for joining us again. This is Moorhead Talks, our second edition. We're joined again by Brenda Elmer, Moorhead Council member. Brenda, we were just talking a bit for all the political issues, and some of the issues around Moorhead and Minnesota are part of the country. What are some of the fun things we could talk about? And, you know, you mentioned before that we're going to do a segment on the Wiz coming up later in this program, and that your son is involved.
Absolutely, yes. It's the first weekend of March at Horizon Middle School, and I think he has 4 roles. Don't ask me to name all of them. They're minor roles, but one of them includes a flying monkey.
Oh, that's
How
excellent.
cool is that?
Yeah, he should keep that around for Halloween. That's
Yeah,
a great
exactly.
thing.
So it's been under wraps. We haven't seen any of it. He doesn't really practice at home much, but it's grueling schedule.
Sure.
Every day after school and on weekends. And so Moorhead School's tremendous theater program.
Moorhead Theater is one of the best programs around, easily, and it's been touted that regionally and nationally, actually. So, you know, I've been to many of the Moorhead High School productions. As a matter of fact, we used to be in the Moorhead High School right across from the theater department, and they've long been easily one of the best. So, yeah, if you get a chance to go to the show, the nice thing about the theater productions here in town for all the high schools is it's only like $8 to get in, and you can see some excellent theater.
We do.
And support also the kids and as they go into their careers.
And they start them young. Our kids were even in the performances at the elementary level.
Oh, really?
And I couldn't believe that was elementary school theater.
Sure.
It was really, really good. And that's one of the many great things about Moorhead, that we kind of have our niche, you know. Not only are we a college town, an education town with 3 significant universities in a town of, 42,000 or so.
Exactly.
But the arts and the theater performances, I live not too far from Blue Stem.
Oh, perfect.
And we just got an invitation to hear their announcement at what they're rolling out this season.
That'll be fun.
I'll be very excited to hear
they
that.
had a fantastic season last year, so it'll be fun to
And
see.
believe it or not, I still run into people from time to time. I ran into a young woman not too long ago, and she didn't know about Blue Stem or the outdoor
Really?
amphitheater, and
No idea. Wow.
there's something for everybody.
Yeah.
They really have a variety out there.
Well, and one of the other things that, as I was talking to another Moorhead leader, was they wanted to make the point that Moorhead, especially in the school district, that kids get a lot more chance to participate in extracurricular activities simply because of the numbers. They don't have as huge of numbers overall that Fargo does, so your kids have much better chance to be in high school football, soccer, theater, band, orchestra, all these sorts of things, and
Absolutely.
get these experiences. So it's a great selling point for Moorhead.
It is. I mean, the variety is amazing. My oldest son is in a math league where he travels around and competes by taking math tests.
Wow. Wow.
He thinks it's a lot of fun, and
Hey, everything is good.
not bad on the GPA either.
Exactly.
And service clubs. They have K-Kids and Builders Club that work with the Kiwanis clubs right in the school doing projects. And so, and my kids have been part of the Spanish immersion program.
Oh, really?
At the elementary level. And I was just with my youngest son, who's 9, and he was selling candy bars for the Cub Scouts last weekend, and came upon a couple. An elderly couple that seemed to only speak Spanish, and he jumped right in, and I was
That's
impressed.
fantastic.
He
That's
doesn't speak it at home very often.
Yeah, no, that's
So.
great, though.
Yeah. One other effort kind of on that arts and culture tone is there's a small group of parents talking about how to bring a children's museum to Moorhead.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just kind of in the dream stage right
Sure.
now, but they're doing some research and some surveying of households. They did find out that the Minnesota Children's Museum has in one of their governing documents that one of their plans is to have a northern Minnesota
Really?
satellite location, and why not
Perfect
Moorhead?
opportunity, exactly.
Yes. They have the one built recently in Rochester for
Right.
southern Minnesota. But that way you could get traveling exhibits, and you wouldn't have to constantly come up with your own. And the Moorhead Library gets different
They've got a great
things.
program of
Yes,
speakers and different people of their. We've done some of their projects as well, and it's amazing some of the variety of things they have coming through.
Right, and the younger kids just love the different hands-on
Right.
exhibits that come through the traveling exhibits, and you know, something along those lines that make kids really want to learn, and especially in the cold months, you know,
Sure.
younger kids.
That would
lot
be
to
great.
do.
That would be fantastic. You know, it's one of those. We have a long list of wishes and wants. It's also getting some people involved, and I mean, it's not just people of means, but there are, like you said, there's programs to get someone who's an entrepreneurial spirit involved, and they could maybe get some of these things rolling. So, what would you suggest that they do? Where's a good place to start if they're trying to get something going, a business or a nonprofit or something along those lines?
Sure, you know, use your connections, anybody you know, whether it's a elected official or someone in your church. There's leaders wherever you go, all different kinds. And if you just start talking about it, somebody's going to recommend that you and talk to somebody else and so forth. As far as starting a business, I was just talking to a businessman this morning about that. And we do have the Small Business Development Center at Concordia.
That's right.
I think it's not a lot of people know about it, but if you're going to expand or you want to start a business and just need a place to start or someone to point the way, that's a good resource.
Sure.
And he had an idea that perhaps maybe some of our leaders from the Moorhead Business Association could maybe serve as mentors.
That's a great idea.
You know, as long as they don't compete in the same niche,
Exactly.
right?
Sure.
So lots of ideas once you start visiting and talking.
Well, and they can always go to Moorhead's website as well, get some basic information to get it going, and then
Absolutely.
some networking from there.
Absolutely. And we're always looking for citizens to serve on our committees
Right.
and boards. It seems like that's nonstop. So, yeah, you can go on the city's website and see what's available. You can call City Hall. So, at every level of government, county, school board. So that's a great place to start, too.
Is there anything else before we wrap up you wanted to throw out a little bone to? Or?
You know, just
Moorhead Dairy
fabulous.
Queen opens
Moorhead Dairy
March
Queen.
1st.
The
Always a
countdown
good one.
sign
The
has
countdown is-
started. That's the
there we
official
go.
start of spring.
You talk about a landmark, and that's a national landmark here in Moorhead.
It is. We've been out there when it's been snowing. But
Yeah.
that's the diehard
Sure.
fans.
Okay. A little snow in your ice cream. That's always good.
There was a day last week where it was unseasonably warm.
Right.
And we forgot that it wasn't open yet. We started going to get a box of dilly bars,
Yep.
and you just think spring.
Yeah, this week is tough because next, it's going to get sliding more and more down. We're shooting this in late February. It'll probably be back to normal by early March, which is too bad because when it was 55 degrees the other day, it would have been perfect for a dilly bar.
And it'll be great seeing people out walking
Mm-hmm.
and enjoying our parks and trails, ever expanding.
Exactly.
Yeah, fantastic.
Well, thank you very much for coming in, Brenda, and wish you all the luck and more good work from the City Council.
Thanks for having me. Look forward to being on again.
Well, thanks very much. And we'll be back shortly with a look at The Wiz, Horizon Middle School's newest production.
No Sort Recycling is coming to Moorhead this July. In mid-June, Moorhead residents will receive a new tote. If you currently have a gray garbage tote, you'll receive a new blue tote for your recycling. Apartment buildings will also have additional containers colored blue as well. Now everyone can participate in recycling. You'll still separate recyclables from garbage, but now all recyclables can be in one container. Your day and week of collection all stay the same. The only difference is you'll have just one new tote for recycling. The 4 drop-off locations will remain available for your use, but you'll still have to separate materials there. The ease of recycling and keeping Moorhead clean will only cost an extra 75 cents each month. Check out the website, cityofmoorhead.com/recycle for more details, and remember, this July, No Sort Recycling is coming to Moorhead.
Well, just recently, I was able to go over to Horizon Middle School and visit with them over their production of The Wiz. Big role. All right. What are you looking forward to most?
Really just getting to show like all the hard work we've gone through and stuff, and just getting able to like get in like the last moments with like your best friends that you've made throughout the process. So
What about the role of Dorothy? What appeals to you about Dorothy?
that she's just so passionate about like getting what she wants and stuff, like going home, and like that's really something that we all need to be passionate about.
What's your role in the production of The Wiz?
I'm the lion.
You are the lion. All right. So how much work has gone into just rehearsing for the show?
Like 2 months, I think.
Did you guys help with building the sets and everything?
We have parents and technicians build the set, and sometimes we can help too.
What's your favorite part? What's the favorite aspect of the character, the lion, that you get to do?
I like how the lion gets to show emotion and grow as a character throughout the whole production.
How did you get involved with this? Have you done other shows?
I've done shows before, but I got into it because my sister did theater, and I got to watch her, and I got to watch all of her castmates grow as people, and I thought, hey, I could do that too.
How did you get involved with production over here?
With this production?
With this production.
This is it's probably my 26th show that I've directed and my 13th year over at Horizon Middle School. I teach theater arts to 8th grade students. All 8th graders take theater arts. It's a good experience for them.
Well, that's obviously you've got a passion for it, that kind of history with it. What's been one of your favorite memories so far of this production with the students involved?
Oh gosh, like with every production, and this one is no different, I guess, is taking them from nothing, zero, and creating something creative and artistic, and watching them grow as people. You know, they put in a lot of work. They have to learn to be respectful and responsible, and just seeing all that come together is very rewarding.
How did you get involved with this today?
Well, I think it started in 6th grade, and I just thought our first show was Seussical, and I'm just really into Dr. Seuss and all that stuff, so I just really wanted to try out, so I did, and I got it, and I just carried me through all the way through 8th grade.
Obviously, you got involved with theater that way. What role do you have in the Wiz?
I am the Wicked Witch of the West. Her name is Eveline.
Ooh. Now, how much fun has that been?
Oh, it's so much fun.
Okay, what's your favorite song that you get to do?
I think it is my song, No Bad News. Bring a message in your head, or it's something you can't lose. Nobody bring me no bad news. If you're gonna bring me something I can use. Nobody bring me no bad news. It's just so freeing, because she just yells at everybody and doesn't care what anybody else thinks of her.
How much fun has that been to rehearse with everybody?
Oh, it's very fun. I think the cast knows that I'm not as mean as my character comes off as, but it's fun too.
Come and see The Wiz here at Moorhead High School. It opens March 2nd, Thursday, March 2nd. It runs March 2nd, 3rd, 4th at 7 o'clock, and we have a Sunday matinee at 2 o'clock.
Anything else you want to add?
You can go to the district's website and reserve your tickets online. And it's pretty easy to find if you just go to the Moorhead Public Schools District, and you can buy the tickets right at the door.
Perfect. And is there anything else you want to say? Just to make sure.
Just if you come, you will not be disappointed. You will be surprised at the talent and the compassion and the energy these kids have.
Everyone come see The Wiz, March 2nd through 5th.
Well, thanks very much for joining us for our second edition of Moorhead Talks. It'll be replayed often through the week and through the month on Moorhead Access and also online, so join us whenever you can at moorheadaccess.org. I'm Tony Tilton, General Manager of Moorhead Community Access Media. For Tim DeForge, our production supervisor, and Eric Faldy, one of our production members, we thank you very much. See you soon.